It's rookie training camp on Parliament Hill as the new MPs come to town in search of answers to basic questions like, where's my office? Let's bring in three still uncontaminated MPs from the three main parties to talk about today's orientation and their hopes for what lies ahead. From the Conservatives, Richard Bragdon from New Brunswick. From the NDP, British Columbia's Laurel Collins. And from the Liberals, Irek Kusmierczyk. Check?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
That's good, Don.
Is an Ontario MP.
Well done.
My name angling's legendary. All right, quick first round. What was the most interesting thing you learned today, Eric?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When you first walk into the House of Commons, when you walk into Parliament in the West Block and you see the chamber, it really just takes your breath away. Yeah. So that came at the end of our first day of orientation. It was absolutely incredible. And I think all the MPs here walked out completely inspired. It was a magical moment. It really was.
It's true. Yeah, the first time's always interesting. What about you, Richard?
Same thing, Don. I share what Eric had said. There's something about visiting the House of Commons and to feel like you've been entrusted with this opportunity. And you feel extremely humbled and honored to have the opportunity to serve in this way. So it is exciting and humbling, and you know you got a lot of learning to do too. So.
All right, Laura, we want something different from you.
Well, I haven't done my orientation yet. Mine starts on Thursday, and so I had a different day. I actually spent a little bit of time with some MPs who are returning, and one of my neighboring MPs, Randall Garrison, who's been an incredible mentor, and then also had conversations with some of the new MPs who are going to be joining our caucus. And so it was really nice to have that kind of balance of these incredible people that I'm going to be working with.
I'm curious, and I've asked this of MPs early in their mandates, their first mandates. You know, if we're talking to you in 3 or 4 years, have you got something you want to put your name to? Is there something you here to accomplish? So, Laurel, is there anything that you've singled out other than representing the NDP? What do you want to do?
You know, the things that I've worked on for the past decade in my community are really around climate action and affordable housing. And so that's what I championed on City Council, and that's what I really want to focus on here. I want to make sure that we have a federal government that takes the climate crisis seriously, that takes the housing crisis seriously.
What about you, Richard?
Well, what's really important for me, I think we need to do whatever we can to address the urban-rural divide that's there in our country.
That's something we've overlooked. We all talk about west-east, but rural-urban is very real, too.
Absolutely. My riding of Tobique-Mactaquac in rural New Brunswick, largely small towns and villages, agricultural, natural resource-based. We actually literally grow our food, develop our natural resources, truck and ship our goods to markets, both locally and internationally. And oftentimes they feel they're overlooked. Their voices aren't heard in Ottawa. And I heard that a lot at the doors. So I'm hoping to be a strong voice on their behalf here.
What sort of policies would overcome that divide, though? I mean,
well, I feel addressing the affordability issues,
is that right?
And that's one of the big things. And obviously we heard a lot about the carbon tax in rural areas because it disproportionately affects those who have no choice. They have to drive to work. They have to drive wherever they're taking their kids to sports and activities. They can't jump on a subway or a metro, and I heard a lot about that at the doors. So those are some of the things. And then also knowing that they have a member of Parliament that understands where they're coming from and will at least make sure their voice is heard. Understand we might not always get our way, but at least we're having a say at the table.
Eric?
I was going to say, from Windsor-Tecumseh, heart of manufacturing in the auto sector, obviously working towards a national auto strategy is absolutely critical. Working also towards diversifying, helping to diversify our economy in that region. But I'll tell you, I've been a city councillor for 6 years, and within the last couple of years, we experienced 2 major catastrophic floods in Windsor-Tecumseh. Thousands of folks got flooded, hundreds of millions of dollars of damage. And so moving towards a credible, actionable climate change plan, I think, is absolutely critical. It's what residents do expect, and it's something that I'm really keen on delivering for our region.
You know, a lot of people, I've talked to people who've come from municipal politics to the federal level before, and they always feel they disconnect from the people because, A, they're in Ottawa, B, you're not dealing with the issues like garbage and parks and that sort of stuff. Do you worry you're going to lose touch with your constituents?
Not at all. And in fact, I really do see this as an extension of my work on council. And so the very first day after the election, I met with Mayor McNamara from the town of Tecumseh, Mayor Drew Dilkins, Mayor of Windsor, and we basically had a conversation about what are the priorities for our region. And that's a conversation I look forward to continuing. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight as well, too, is for the first time in 19 years in the region of Windsor and Essex County, we have a Liberal, an NDP, and a Conservative member of Parliament. And what I can tell you is we've already reached out to both members to set up a breakfast or a coffee meeting where we can actually come together and figure out what are some of the issues where we have common ground, where we can actually pursue those common issues and interests together. I think it's absolutely critical. And I'll be honest with you, that's the type of work that we did on City Council. Is residents expected their elected officials to work together and to get things done and to deliver. And that's an ethos that I intend to bring to my work here in Ottawa.
Oh, I'm just curious. We had a very divisive campaign, and it was not pleasant to watch particularly. And I don't know what it was like in your riding, whether it was confrontational. But what do you hope can be done with this Parliament in terms of maybe being a little more constructive as opposed to confrontational?
Well, I'm personally really excited to work across party lines to move forward on these issues, and I know my colleagues are as well. I think, my experience of this campaign, especially seeing Jagmeet, the way he connected with people, the way, talking about universal pharmacare, talking about climate action, talking about addressing the housing crisis, these things speak to people's real concerns in their everyday lives, and they want a parliament that works together to take action on these things.
Okay, Richard, there's going to be a bare-knuckle brawl in the West Block when this thing comes back?
I don't sense that. I feel like I know at the local level, and I think all change, oftentimes, meaningful, lasting change starts locally. And I can honestly say in our local race in Tobique-Mactaquac, we had a very amicable race. We had good discussions, good debates, but everyone got along well on a personal level. And I think it starts there, understanding that everyone at this table here tonight, we all come with passion to make a difference, represent our region, but I believe every one of us wants what's best for our country. We just may have different ways of getting there. But I think, honestly, good, hardworking, decent people are being sent to Parliament from across the country, and it's important that all those voices are heard and that no one feels marginalized because they have a different point of view. And I think that's important as we go forward.
I'm going to put you on the spot because what the heck? Leadership concerns, you hearing that at all from people in your riding?
Actually, I really feel like, look, we won the popular vote. I felt like that Mr. Scheer's only 2 years into the leadership. We gained seats, and in our region in particular, I know how hard that he worked and came down, and I'm glad that we won back some seats. Obviously, we hope to win more.
That was a big red tent before.
They're all 32 seats, and I fully commend that leader Scheer and his style. I feel like he's definitely going to move forward and keep moving ahead, and our party will. We won the popular vote, and we gained seats in every region, and I think, obviously, all of us have lessons to learn from the last.
But anyway, I mean, Laurel, one thing, you're in a minority parliament, and there's some constraints on how much you can push the Liberals to act. I mean, do you think the NDP can realistically get something done over the Liberals if the Liberals don't want it? I mean, how much power do you really have?
I'm really optimistic about our ability to work together in a minority parliament. We've seen it in the past. The NDP has a long history of working and actually getting results for Canadians in minority parliaments. We wouldn't have Medicare. We wouldn't have pensions.
That's true.
We wouldn't have the building blocks of our social safety net if it weren't for the courage and determination of New Democrats in minority governments going in and really pushing for what matters for Canadians.
Okay. I got to push you, Eric, on there. You're the government. You guys have the power. How much do you listen to the NDP?
Again, I think Canadians really do expect us to work together and to deliver results. And again, from my experience on City Council, in City Hall, you can have the most incredible debates and discussions and whatnot. But at the end of the day, residents expect to bring good policy, good initiatives, good investments, and bring resources to our communities. That's ultimately what we're going to be judged on. And so I always say, if somebody brings forward a really good idea, they have integrity, and they're willing to work hard to get that done. To me, it doesn't matter if the idea comes from Richard or Laurel or Blue or Orange. Really, residents just expect us to get things done.
If you three were the leaders of your parties, this Parliament would last a long time. I don't want to burst your bubble or anything, but this doesn't last usually. But I guess I got to ask final question. You're in a minority Parliament.
Yes.
Are you ready to do this all over again in 2 years if necessary? Do you think people are going to go, we do not want to get to those polls again. We just got here. What do you think, Laurel?
I think people are expecting us to work together to make sure that we get results. I loved this election. I love talking to voters about the issues that matter to them. But I think what they want to see in Parliament is us working together to make sure we deliver on the huge priorities and the huge challenges we're facing. We are facing a climate crisis. We are facing a housing crisis. We need the services that people depend on, and so that they can access them when they need it. And so it's very important that we work together.
Richard, what do you think? Another do-over in 2 years?
Well, it really depends on the courses and the actions of the government and the choices and the pieces of legislation they bring forward, if it's in the best interest of Canadians as a whole. And obviously our job as Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition is to make sure we hold them to account and do it constructively. And if there's areas that we can work together that is good for the country, excellent. But if there are areas that we feel, wow, we need to make sure that the people are consulted, and we'll do everything we can to hold them to account.
You know, Eric, this is as nice as the NDP and the Conservatives are going to get to you in the next few years.
Absolutely.
How do you keep the Parliament alive? I guess you have to listen.
You have to listen, absolutely. And on issue by issue, you build coalitions around the ideas and the program that the government wants to bring forward. I think that's what's going to happen. But I'll tell you, nobody at the door that I talked to said, boy, that was a great election, let's do another one, right away. So I think Canadians, again, as Laurel had stated and as Richard had stated, expect us to work together, get things done. And I don't think Canadians want to see another election for a little bit.
No. I can second that emotion. All right. Thank you all. It was nice having you on. You did a great job, and good luck.